Hello, dear friends. Here we are. It's a new day for our studies in the Harvest of Light. Yes, Harvest of Light is the English version of the Portuguese version, Ceifa de Luz, by the Spirit Emmanuel through Chico Xavier. We got to know in 1972 of these lessons that are true psychological nourishment for us. Right, Joyce Magalhães? Today, we're going to talk about Chapter 5, the lesson of the sword. But before we go there, I have to say that yesterday when we were studying Chapter 4, my original in Portuguese was missing two sentences, and thanks to our dear friend Adilson, who kindly made me aware of it, I was able to add those in the English version. So if you have already studied Chapter 4 about our loved ones, there are two sentences that I would like to read for you and give us an opportunity to complement. So thank you, Adilson, for being so diligent. It's a teamwork effort, right? Emmanuel, talking about loved ones yesterday, he said, let us never either demand the impossible from our loved ones or frustrate their hopes. Let us give to each one the blessing of our esteem without unnecessary requests, accepting the experiences to which they incline and respecting the types of happiness that they choose for themselves. Before I enter Chapter 5, we would like to make a comment. How important it is for all of us to feel accepted. It's in our nature. Love is our nourishment. So I'm mentioning this because psychology has already identified that what people search for or seek the most is for approval, for acceptance. That's precisely what Emmanuel is saying. Accept people. Appreciate. It's not easy. I understand. And you know why it's not easy? Because sometimes we feel threatened by people's choices. The choices they make sometimes threaten our peace. Because it may seem to us that if they are choosing that route, that our route is wrong. Not necessarily. I'll give an example. If everybody in a family is a painter and you decide to be a scientist, that doesn't make you wrong. All right, it just makes you who you are. But it's funny that we often don't understand ourselves like this. We look at other people when we compare ourselves all the time. We don't allow people to be who they are. We have this constant need to say, oh, how come that person had that idea and not me? No. If it didn't come through me, that's probably a bad idea, because only the good spirits communicate through me. The good spirits only communicate through me. That person, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. And then we have Jesus telling us that the condition, and we'll see this time and again, it's in the book Jesus in the Home, and then in the reports of Emmanuel, in the book Paul and Stephen, that it takes more than righteousness to connect to the angels. It's in the book, Chapter 5, Jesus in the Home. The inconstant worker is one of them, and other messages in the book showing to us that it's not about being right. It's about willing to do the good. You think it's the same? Not necessarily. Because the person who is righteous, they may be faithful to their duties, but then not necessarily they're open and ready to help others whenever God asks, as Jesus said, whenever the angels recruit. So for us, this is the lesson that we wrapped up from yesterday. In a way, it connects to the message of today, the lesson of the sword. Isn't that funny? Because Emmanuel is going to quote from Matthew 10:34. That passage, "Do not think that I came to bring peace on earth." Jesus. Let me read first what the teacher, Emmanuel, wants to share with us. And then we together, we're going to build it up. Okay? The lesson of the sword. "I came not to bring peace, but a sword," said the Lord. And many apprentices take precedence over the literal feature of his word to extend shadow and disturbance. Embracing the concept, countless companions consecrate themselves to sourness in the home, disturbing their own relatives by imposing on them beliefs and point of view, while destroying their understanding, instead of aiding them in the planting of the living faith, when they do not confuse themselves in discussions and conflicts, creating polemics without profit, or accusing unduly all those who do not communicate in the booklet of violence and cruelty. Until the time of the Christ, the world had legalized the arrogance of hatred and ignorance, keeping the terrible domination through the deadly sword of war and captivity in bloody devastation. The kingship of humankind was tyranny coated with gold, ruining and oppressing wherever it extended the destroying claws. With Jesus, however, the sword is different. Turning to the bosom of the earth, the sword of Jesus represents the cross on which he himself bore the supreme witness of sacrifice and death for the good of all. That is why Jesus' example does not justify the unbridled instincts of those who intend to wound or to wage war in his name. Discipline and humility, love and renunciation mark Jesus' attitude at every step of the way. Scourged and forgotten, amid scorn and slander, spontaneous forgiveness flows incessantly from the soul, only to return blessing for a curse, light for darkness, good for evil. Thus, if you have received the symbolic sword that the Master has brought to life, remember that the battle instituted by the Lord's lesson remains alive and firm within ourselves. Thus, by sabering the sword over the past of our old foolishness, we will convert in the redemptive cross, in which we will fight against the enemies of our peace, hidden in our own self in the form of pride and intemperance, selfishness and animality, consumed at the price of our own consecration to happiness of others, the only road capable of leading us to the definitive empire of the great light. I know Emmanuel in this chapter, he was very extensive, and there is a reason. We're talking here about our animal nature that's still in us, and the one that is building up the human one. We're in this transition. When we talk about the transition of our planet, we're talking about that inner transition inside of each one of us. The transition from the old conditionings to new conditionings. But you know what happens? When we build the new, it's the unknown. We don't know. If we knew it, we would already be there. We contemplate it. I know that when we talk about behavioral change, there are several theories, and there is one in particular that I like the most. Trans-theoretical analysis, which tells us that we can only change when we start contemplating the change. It's one of the steps. Before we put it into action, we contemplate it. But there is a step prior to this, when we don't even contemplate it, because we don't know that this exists. I'll give an example. If you go to certain parts, poor parts of this country, in the United States itself, I've been there in areas in the United States where poverty is such that they don't even know certain basic instructions on toothbrushing, toothpaste, and then oral hygiene. They don't. It seems surprising, but it's not. If you tell them that it's vital to toothbrush 2-3 times a day, they're gonna laugh. Because they're gonna say, I don't need it. My teeth are fine. I don't care if there is a cavity. You don't even say caries because they don't know the term. For them, it's a cavity. And they don't understand the gravity, that it means the health of the body. The mouth is not disconnected to the body. If my mouth doesn't have the proper oral hygiene, I won't be able to have, it has a direct connection with my whole body. So taking care of oral health belongs to taking care of the overall health of the body. And why am I saying this? Because people cannot change if they don't know why and what is possible to do. And even when we start contemplating, it takes time for us to build it up, right? So I see friends here. Before I go on, Elza Leal is here. Thank you, Elza. Kátia, Silvio Otério, Hipólito, how are you? Carmen Silveira, what a joy. Patrícia Guidi, how are you? And Tiago. Adriana Palmeira, how are you? Eliza, how are you? Angelita, wonderful to have you here. La Souza. Josh Bergado, how are you? Rihanna, beautiful Rihanna. Joyce Magalhães and the beautiful family. Rafael Medeiros, what a joy, Rafael. Célia Lancaster, Teresa Castro. Adilson, how are you? Our dear Paula, Valéria Benfica, what a joy, friends. And Dulce Story, Sol Souza. I can see here Andrea Torres, right? What a joy, friends. And I'm doing this just to also give you a break. Breathe in and out. So let's go back where we were. Why is this lesson so deep? Because it's talking about our nature. In our nature, we could say that Emmanuel was right when we still believe in the spirit of the force. But then Jesus comes and teaches us the force of the Spirit. So I'll put a pause and say, in psychology, we talk about instincts, conditionings. Jesus is bringing us a new proposal. Instead of keeping the sword of our defense up, being on the defense to preserve ourselves, he's saying, trust in God, faith. Be joyful because life is good, and be courageous. But do not hurt anybody. So saber your sword. Keep it down. Upside down. The cross. Right? Up the sword. Down the cross. Teaching us to cool down the flames of our animal nature. And Thich Nhat Hanh is phenomenal in that regard because he wrote a book on anger and he subtitled it Cooling Down the Flames. And it's a good book to make us understand that anger is not bad, but we need to manage it. We need to be less of a slave of anger. And like a horse, we tame it, a wild horse. Anger, we need to learn how to tame it. How? Breathing in and out in these teachings. If you want to know more about the lesson of the sword, go to the Gospel According to Spiritism by Kardec. In chapter 23, items 9 onwards. It's titled Strange Morals. And it comes precisely to this page talking about Jesus who didn't come to bring peace. And Kardec discusses it and says, no, Jesus is the personification of tenderness and goodness. He never ceased to proclaim love for the neighbor. So isn't it strange that we see him proposing about not bringing peace but a sword? But what did he mean? Let me read to you what Kardec brings to us. It's item 12 of chapter 23. Every new idea encounters strong opposition, and there is not one that has not been implemented without struggle. Resistance in such cases is always in proportion to the importance of the results foreseen. For the greater the idea, the more numerous the interests it will ruffle. If it is notoriously erroneous, if it is deemed inconsequential, no one will be concerned with it and will allow it to pass, knowing it has no viability. However, if it is true, if it sits on a solid base, if a future is foreseen for it, a secret presentiment warns its antagonists that it is a danger to them and to the order of things in whose maintenance they are interested. That is why they throw themselves against it and its adherents. The measure of the importance and results of a new idea, therefore, may be found in the excitement that its appearance causes, the violent opposition it provokes, and the degree and persistence of the anger of its adversaries. Mamma mia, right, Jose Gonzalez? Right, Monica Medeiros? Did you see what Kardec said? And the truth is like this. And that's why Jesus is mentioning about the sword. So he says, Jesus came to proclaim a doctrine that would undermine the very base of the abuses upon which the Pharisees, scribes, and priests of his time were living. So they killed him, believing they could kill the idea by killing the man. But the idea survived because it was true. It goes on, and that's a teaser for us to read in the Gospel According to Spiritism, chapter 23. How often you and I and others, in our families. We're going to bring these ideas. They're not ours, but we're going to bring the proposal to do the good without having anything in reward or in return, of helping others, of forgiving, and the obsessors of others, or even ours, may be so furious. In our disobsession meetings, we see it every meeting. The obsessors coming and fiercely attacking because they don't want us to be free. When you decide to quit an addiction, you're talking about stopping a habit that has many involved. Read the book Sex and Destiny by Andrea Lewis. Whenever we are addicted to anything, we have a group of discarnates as well that are benefiting, and I say benefiting quote unquote because that's not really a benefit, that are taking advantage of our vitality during the process. So that's why quitting addictions is not simple, because there are many involved. Whether the addiction of sex or drugs or gossiping or bad-mouthing or thinking bad about ourselves, undermining ourselves, sabotaging ourselves, because there are spirits who take advantage of it. Right, Wagner Jr.? It's good to have you here too. So when Emmanuel in this lesson says that deep inside of us, he says, inside of us, he says to us the very sentence, sabering the sword over the past of our old foolishness. Therapeutic question. Do you keep telling yourself how bad you were? How bad you've been? That's not healthy. Unless you are in a therapeutic session and you want to change it. But telling it to your family and friends, you know what it does? It makes them feel sad. And it gives them, unless you're saying this because you want to let it out, but if you have constantly gotten into the habit of talking bad about yourself, it's not healthy. Because then you're just reinforcing it. You're labeling, keeping yourself in that old. So what did Emmanuel say? Do what Jesus did. Discipline yourself. Discipline. Humble yourself. Do not say anything. Take action. Take that sword instead of hurting yourself. Saber the sword. Put it down. Over the past. Let it go. Let it go. But Vanessa, I still feel, but you know, by telling it to others, you're not going to be less ashamed. On the contrary. By telling it to everybody and reinforcing it, unless, again, you're in a therapeutic session, you are not going to help yourself. You're going to expose yourself. You know, even when we do counseling or fraternal counseling, we don't want to dig and dig and dig and dig and get to know many things. You know why? Because there is no need for us to expose the person to levels that she doesn't feel comfortable. And Divaldo Franco once mentioned it, that he has this strategy when he's doing the fraternal counseling. He sometimes even stopped the person from actually confessing things. We need to stop this confessionary, of course, in a therapeutic session. when we need a friend, right? Lean on me, right? I know it's good to lean on a good friend, but we cannot do this all the time. As if we have a greeting card, a business card saying, I am this person, subtitled, the depressed, the moody, the gossiper, the... Erase it and do what? Remember, you're a child of God. You cannot do this to yourself. You cannot do this to yourself. You're a sculpture of God. God loves you, and you know it. So you cannot badmouth the works of God, because you're co-creating with God. You're co-creating yourself with God. So the more we admire ourselves, the more we're worshiping God. Right? Tell yourself, I love and approve of myself in ways that are pleasing to God. Tell yourself time and again, and do not allow people to bash you, to undermine you, to put you down. If they do, immediately, if you don't need to argue, but tell yourself, I know I'm a child of God. I know I'm trying my best. I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it. I am capable of overcoming this. Right, Rosa Gladys and Iva Ribeiro? So it's an opportunity for us to rethink that process and believe in our divine essence. You are the co-creator of your life with God. God is the pilot. You're the co-pilot. You cannot tell the co-pilot, you're not doing a good job. Right? You need to tell the co-pilot, I'm helping you. Tell me, what do you need from me? Chapter 3 of the book, Thought in Life. Cooperation. Emmanuel says, God is operating and we are cooperating with God. God is operating and we are cooperating every single moment. So, let's do an analysis. What am I doing with the time that God is giving us? You think time is yours? No. I remember a movie in which a friend of mine was telling me about that movie one day, many years ago, and said that in the movie there was a representation of the devil, which doesn't exist. And he used to sing, time is on my side. Yes, it is. No, time is in God's side. Time is a concession of God. However I use my time, the vitality that I have at hand, all the resources, we're going to be held accountable for it. So next time I spend the whole day doing nothing because I'm on a vacation, let's reframe it. Let's rest purposefully. Let's entertain ourselves healthfully. And let us nourish ourselves wisely so we don't waste time or vitality, the resources that God concedes to us. So here we have him saying, saber the sword over the past. The past is in the past. Now it's our opportunity to begin anew and convert the old foolishness into our redemptive cross. That's when I can say, oh my God, the difficulties of today are a sign of my actions yesterday. That's okay. I love and approve myself. I forgive myself for the choices, and I bless the past. Bless your past. Let us bless our past. We need to bless our past. We need to do, because God already does. because He even allows us to forget. He says that's okay. Begin anew. Begin anew. Begin anew. So let's bless the past. Close your eyes and tell yourself, I bless my past. I want to make peace with my past. I accept all the experiences and I kindly reconcile with my past, with the personalities that I had in the past, and I bless them and I say, I forgive you, and together we're going to rebuild. We're going to repair. We're going to help others. I bless the past because God already does. Right? Mariana de Andrade. So here he's saying, convert the past into our redemptive cross, in which we will fight against the enemies of our peace, which are hidden in our own selves. How? In the form of pride and intemperance, selfishness and animality. So let's go back. What are the names of our enemies now? Today we got to know the enemies. If you were thinking, somebody is making something to destroy my life, now we know the names of that somebody body. Pride. And you know, pride is so deceptive because it comes in that form like, I know. I've read this book. I don't need to read it again. I know about this. No, I've tried it all. I've prayed. I've done all the kinds of therapies. And yet we lack a mirror. And yet we need to tame our impulses, the instinctive tendencies of the past. That's why Emmanuel is talking about pride and intemperance. Temper is to moderate. So when we are not moderated, we go from extreme to extreme. So a tip that once I got from a wonderful homeopathic doctor, he said a good way is to practice rhythmic life. Everything in nature has cycles, rhythms. It's the harmony. We're nature. When we try to go out of this harmony, it becomes not harmonious. Disease, because it's not ease, right? So take it easy. How? Make it sweet and kind, not forceful. So he said, a good way is to avoid words like never, always. Because when we go to these extremes, never, always, we are not paced out. He even mentioned to me the music, row, row, row your boat, is a way for us to feel like the rhythm of life and to be in that harmony. Row, row, row your boat of life gently down the stream. Merrily, merrily, with joy. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Gentle dreaming. And André Luiz in the book Nosso Lar talks about everything begins in dreams, in the mind. So gentle. Do you believe in the spirit of the force or the force of the spirit? Jesus was not in a rush, and isn't either. Though we need to evolve, though we're not going to stop, the Spirit say, do not stop helping others, and that's why selfishness is an enemy too. He says, pride, intemperance, lack of moderation, and selfishness when we think everything is about ourselves. How many people suffer because they put themselves in the center of their universe? And the universe, the center is God. God is not a satellite. God is not an appendix. God is the center of our universe. When we place God in the center, our lives make sense. We feel safer. We feel we are good because God is taking control of everything. Right, Adilson? Thank you. Let us bless our past and the animality, that instinctive tendencies, the conditionings, they become enemies when we don't control them. You know, when fear comes and you go back to that addiction, insecurity, and you go back to that addiction, and when you feel angry and you go back to that addiction, breathe in and out and say, I will be able to stop eating sweets because I love and approve of myself, and my body needs better than sweets because sugar does not do good to the body. I love and approve of myself and the body, and I take good care of it. We need. So I breathe in and out and I say, no, no, no. I'm not going to fall in this trap again, because it makes it worse. I know there are cases that are very difficult because we have the crowd of spirits. But for today, friends, what is the main thing? Bless the past and tame the inner enemies. Saber the sword, no fight. Yes, I agree with you. There are moments in which we have to say yes, yes, no, no to ourselves and to others. And that has to be done. But done with the easiness of the truth. Not imposed, but proposed. We do not impose the truth, but we propose. God proposes the truth, does not impose on us. So for us today, let us bless the past and tame our pride, our lack of moderation, our selfishness, and our instinctive tendencies. Emmanuel calls them animality. And focus on making others happier, not pleasing them, but helping people. The less selfish we are, the higher we vibrate, the happier we'll be, right? So that's it for today, right, Marcelo Sano? We are here together, friends, and tomorrow, when we come back, God willing, we're going to be studying chapter 6 of the book, Sefer de Luz, Harvest of Light. It's about in your own self. You want a teaser? I can give you a teaser. Oh, yes. He says, deepen in the silence of your own soul. Wow. Listen to the thoughts that are born in your own being, and you recognize the fundamental solution of all the problems of life that happen to you. How poetic, how beautiful, how hopeful, how resourceful. This is Emmanuel, our teacher. We're very thankful to Emmanuel, to Chico, Xavier, and to Jesus for the blessing of this nourishment tonight, friends. If you're going to sleep, may we have a very intelligent sleep. When we meet with the good spirits, talk to them and get our instructions. If you're going to continue your day like Rihanna, Julie and others, or friends in California, may you, or people who work overnight, may you feel the blessings of this lesson and bless your past and continue walking towards the light. Thank you, Rihanna. Thank you, Nora Brazil. Thank you, friends. Let's stay in the blessings of this message.